Oh man, it seems that we have been fighting a lot of chaos lately. When we were sent to Armageddon, I thought we were be fighting the orcs. By the Emperor, have mercy on our souls. The silver armor, the scrolls, the glowing eyes. That's a Grey Knight. I mean, that's an Iron Warrior.
Private Jenkins, start the shuttle. We cannot repeat the first war of Armageddon.
Admiral, Angron has made a presence. He is wearing silver armor. Here is his coordinates.
With a single blow from my hammer, God Splitter.
Dead man tell no tells. Step 0, make sure you prime your mini. Mine is primed in Mechanica Standard Gray Rattle Can. Now for all of those inscriptions on there, I want a red undertone, so I use Blood Scarlet AK Interactive ink, which has quite a bit pigmentation to it. The reason why I did this is because I want it to look like the Grey Knight Codex cover art, which looks really, really cool. So just make sure that you go all over it, and that ink is really just gonna wanna go in there. Once you're done with that, we are going to get a bright gold. I use the Vallejo gold, and I'm just gonna dry brush it on top of the text. Because now that red is kind of sunk in there, we're just gonna dry brush the gold all over it. Now I went over and washed all of that text in Agrax Earthshade, but that's gonna take away a little bit too much red. So I would recommend mixing a little bit of Lamine Medium, which is like a pigmentless matte paint, in with your Agrax Earthshade just to dull it down a little bit. So I'd probably do about 2/3 Agrax Earthshade to about 1/3 Lamine Medium. We are now going to base all of the armor in Cantor Blue, and this is going to be our base color. And as you can see, I actually previously painted it another metal color, thinking that this would give off a cool look, but it just wasn't giving off that blue essence. That is what I was envisioning for the Grey Knights and what makes them so unique and distinct. So you're just gonna wanna base the entire thing in that Cantor Blue. Make sure it's not going on too thick, and you can always do that by watering down your paint just slightly. Once you are done with that, we are gonna get Grey Knight Steel. Now I kind of just use what you guys like to call my Dreadnought brush, which is like my 10-year-old artist loft brushes where they just kind of fall apart, but they are still useful. You're gonna get... We're gonna say a comment Dreadnought. It's like the best. Whoever said that definitely deserves the comment of the week. Anyways, you're gonna get the Grey Knight Steel, and you're going to get your brush, get a paper towel, dry brush it on there, get that excess paint off first. And then you're just gonna dry brush it all over the mini. You wanna stay away from those creases. And since we're dry brushing it, that Cantor Blue that's under it is gonna be showing through, making it look like it's got a blue hue to it with that metal look. And you continue to dry brush it over and over again to get a brighter look on some areas and to build up highlights. Now for those small to reach areas, that's just super hard to get to, I just use a small, fine, pointy brush. Now I have been told if you're using like those sable brushes, those metal metallics are going to ruin them. So if you are using it, just make sure you use it for a very short period of time and then wash your brush off very quickly. For the brightest of highlights, we are going to be using Storm Hosed Silver. I just used a smaller brush, got the excess paint off first using a paper towel, and then I just stippled it in, or just tap, 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 on larger areas that I wanted to be just a little bit brighter. And you want to do this in the middle area that you just did with that previous highlight in the step before. But you don't want to do this everywhere. So I just did it on that back kind of butt plate, a little bit along some of those protruding areas, and some on the sides. Now, like on the side of the front of the leg, I just kind of quickly did a little swoop in, and it almost looks like little scratches coming in from the side. Now I want that front piece to be a little bit brighter, so I just tapped it in that front area, but kind of staying away from the edges because you still want to add depth with all of the dry brushing that you did in that previous step. This is also a good time to just do the very top of the shoulders and a little bit along the face, since it will be a little bit brighter as well. I will not taint my Grey Knight with corn red, so instead we're going to be using Mephiston red on what I believe is called the Canticle of Absolution, which is all of those little books on the Grey Knight. Now it's going to be hard to reach some of those areas, so make sure your Mephiston red is just slightly watered down to hit all of those books. I also did the grip of the sword as well in that Mephiston red. For the pages of the book, we are going to base it in Ushabti Bone. This is going to take at least 2 coats. To finish these books off, we are going to go back to that bright gold, and we are going to paint the pommel, the guard, and the little sharp kind of metal corner pieces of the book in that bright gold. We are going to want to go to a brown wash or Agrax Earthshade over the area that we just did. Now you do not want to get this on the blue armor because that brown is really going to affect that blue, make it kind of like this gross kind of a greenish yellowish hue on that blue, which we do not want. So make sure you're careful, and if you do end up getting the blue, just get some water and brush it off. Once that is all dried and up, you're gonna go back to that gold and you're gonna want to put it on sparingly. You want some of that dark gold still showing through. So on areas like on the pauldrons, on that bottom area, you'd want that to remain kind of that dark gold, but then you just lightly put in some of that bright gold sparingly on here, then build up that highlight a little bit more towards the top. So if the sun is hidden on the top, this area will obviously be a brighter gold, or if it's hidden in the front, this would be a brighter gold, leaving that dark gold along the sides. Once you're done with that, you're gonna go mix your bright gold with equal parts Storm Hosed Silver. This makes a much more natural bright gold to me than just using a bright silver. And we're just going to do this on the brightest areas of highlights. So some of those sharp edges is a great area to put that very bright silver. I even put it on the top of the shoulders, hitting some of that text with that bright gold, or where the guard or the pommel is, that's where you would want to put it. But you still want to make sure that you're showing that gold in that dark gold still showing through in other parts on there. Now I like a slight highlight on the pages of my books, so I'm going to go back to Ushabti Bone and I'm going to water it down. You want the consistency of where that Ushabti bone is practically transparent, as you can see on my hand. And we're just gonna do it on the areas that's raised the most on the books, and then you can just slightly tap it along the edges of the pages, and this is gonna make those pages just look that much better. I also did it on the purity seals as well. For the text itself, we're gonna use contrast black Templar. It's just gonna be easier to use than if you're using like a watered down Abaddon black. And you're just gonna make little scribbles with breaks all over the text. I did the exact same thing to the purity seal as well. Once you're done with that, you're gonna at a 45-degree angle, you're just gonna add little lines throughout the text, and this is gonna make your text look that much better, and it's gonna kind of give off this cursive look. Now, I decided I want to make it look even better, and to do that, I used Blood Scarlet AK Interactive ink, and I just made little symbols that look like letters on the text, and I just kind of put it in the front of some areas sparingly on there. I did this also on the purity seal, and I really liked how it turned out. For the eyes, we're gonna start off making this a pure white. I used the Pro Acryl Titanium White, and as you can see, I actually left these parts of the eye surrounding it very dark. Now, if you do end up painting over, I would just get a Nolan oil or some wash and seep it into there and try to create that line again. Once you're done with that, you're gonna go use Contrast Frost Heart. Now, I like to start off watering mine down significantly until it becomes this light baby blue. And you're just gonna go over that entire area where your eyes are. You're then gonna go to the pure Contrast Frost Heart, and just underneath, you just wanna make this area a little bit darker with it, so it looks like it has a little bit more of a glow to it. And to finish it off, we're gonna go back with a white, and we're gonna mix that into the Contrast Frost Heart until it becomes like a light blue. And you're just gonna hit some of those sharp edges with it to make it look like it has a little bit of a glow effect. While I was editing this, they came out with a new Grey Knight box reveal, so we are going to take a look. And there is nothing new. Remember, it is heresy not to like, subscribe to this video. And that's it.